artists. Today I want to talk about some different coloring tips with markers and crayons. So I'm going to start with a marker, and I want to show you a couple of different tips to make sure that we are having the highest quality of craftsmanship in our artwork. So I'm going to take the cap off and put the cap on the back. And the first thing I want to talk to you about is tracing. So I've got this artwork here with some shapes, and I'm ready to start coloring it. So when I take my marker, a lot of times what I want to do is outline or trace the shape before I color it. Did you see how I went around the shape and made it sort of like a border before I colored it? And that way, when I go to color, it's way easier to stay inside the lines. And the other thing I want to talk to you about with markers is the speed at which we color, because sometimes that really has an effect on the quality of our artwork. So let me do this again. Let me go to this zigzaggy star shape down here, and I'm going to do this same technique. I'm going to outline first, make myself a little border. Now watch what happens if I color very fast. Watch what happens. I have quite a bit of white space, and my marker looks like it's not working actually. It kind of looks like it's not juicy anymore. But if I slow down a little bit, I'm gonna slow down on this side. If I slow down when I'm coloring, oh my goodness, much better, right? I've gotten rid of all of my white spaces, and it looks like this marker was working perfectly fine. When I colored fast over here, I thought, oh, maybe this marker's not juicy, but it turns out it's still got plenty of juice in it. The good news is, if you accidentally color too fast, like I did right here, you can always go over it again nice and slow and cover it up real nice. So those are my two marker tips. Now let's talk about crayons for a second. Let me close this marker, listen for the click. All right, we're closed. Let's talk about crayons for a second. First of all, some of our crayons are starting to look like this. So the edge is, we're getting close to the edge. And when that happens, it means we can still use the crayon, but what you need to do is take your fingernail and just peel, take your fingernail and just peel some of that paper. Okay, and then our crayon is good as new. So once you've got your crayon and you know what you want to color, I've got a couple of colors here I'm going to use. So I'm going to start with maybe some blue. Now, one technique I like to use with crayons is making sure that I turn my paper. Now, here's what I mean when I tell you that. I'm going to color in this shape. And I like to use just little strokes. Do you notice how just my wrist is moving? If your whole arm is moving, your elbow and your shoulder, you're probably moving just a little too fast. Now when it gets to be right here, it kind of makes my arm twist a little uncomfortable. So what I like to do is turn my paper. When it gets to a point where it's a little uncomfortable, because we want to make sure that we're coloring only the spaces that we want to color. That will make the highest craftsmanship. You notice here too, I'm coloring nice and slow, just like with the markers. Now this would be fine. I could leave it like this, but I want to show you something kind of fun with crayons. Sometimes it's really fun to make your own colors and mix with crayons. So I'm going to add this purple on top of the blue and just see what happens. Once again, I'm just moving my wrist, and I'm going to color just half of it so that way we can see the difference. And this is really cool. I'm making my own new color. This is a good technique if you ever want to try to shade with crayons too. Okay, I've got about half of it, a little more than half of it colored, but you can see the difference. Let me pull down a little bit. You see how much more rich this color looks, and it just looks more finished with 2 layers. It looks very, very nice. So those are my 2 tips today for coloring with markers and crayons. And I hope you have a great day of creating.